Okay, I think everybody got the hang of chatting. All right, so we're going to get through the meeting's agenda. And I want to just introduce myself for those of you who might not know me or we haven't seen each other in a long time. I'm Pastor Tanya Jackson, and the director of the Dream Center, after school care and summer camps, all out of school time fun. And we're going to do our best to make the summer camp, which your children usually love, as close to that as possible. I'm going to share my screen in a little while to show you the agenda, and we're going to hit that agenda, stick to that agenda. I'm going to speak quickly, but don't feel like you can't ask me questions. Just remember that you're going to ask in the chat room. I'm going to ask everyone to mute themselves. If you go to the bottom of the screen, you'll see how to mute yourself. Just hit mute, and that way we can take away the background noise, okay? And then now I'm going to hit record so that we can start the meeting, okay? All right, so I'm going to share my screen so that you can see the agenda for what we're going to speak about tonight, and then we'll go from there, okay? All right, so can everybody still hear me? Thumbs up. If you go down to the bottom of your screen and you see the word reaction, you can hit a thumbs up, and that lets me know you can hear me, okay? Very good. I see you. Good job. Okay. So tonight's meeting is just going to go over some general things about summer camp. And the summer camp is really only open to the dreamers, people that we actually know. And we know your children already. You've been serviced by our staff already, and you kind of know who we are. Part of that is because of, well, a good part of it is because we're opening back up the country, and we're the first line defenders of getting your students back to reality, you know, in the real world of getting going again in their academics. For some of them, waking them up because we've been sleeping for 3 months. So we want to make sure they get back and are as prepared to go back to school as possible. So we are the godmother of school, the Dream Center, where it is that they may be falling short. We want to make sure that they're caught up through us. And as well, if they're doing well, we want to make sure we encourage them to be even more great. So the general synopsis of the camp does not change. The only major changes we're going to go through in item number 3. The camp is still the same. We have pretty much the same staff. They don't have to be introduced to anybody except for one young lady. She is new to us. Her name is Miss Whitehurst. But she's going to be a fantastic teacher. She's going to work with the pre-K and the K. And believe you me, it was a big deal to decide whether or not we would even do the camp because of all of the CDC guidelines and regulations that we had to adhere to. And just so that you know, our team is trained and we're going to abide by everything that the CDC has said. So we want to make sure that everybody is safe. That's number one. But that we also have fun, and that the kids have a sense of normalcy, and that you guys can work. Okay. So next we're going to go over a few things in terms of COVID-19 and why we're changing certain things. So in terms of COVID-19, the most important thing that we want to remember is that the touchless society is what we're going to encounter at summer camp for New Mount Moriah. Now, New Mount Moriah is the church. For those of you who have not had your babies be raised through the Dream Center, we start them off at the church for aftercare, and then we take them to the school. Well, now everyone is going to be at the at the church and not the school. The schools have not made a clear decision as to whether or not they will allow summer camp. But in my mind, if everybody needs to go back to work, people need care. So we decided to open back up at the church. The principal knows we're opening back up. We already have the information iReady, what you need. to do over the summer to try to catch up for when we are reintegrated into the school. So the COVID-19 issue, or the coronavirus, is really what is driving what we're doing. So if you're entering the meeting, please mute yourselves, okay, if you're just entering the meeting. So that's number one. So one of the biggest changes is going to be food. You will be required to bring your own food. You know, Pastor Tanya loves to feed the kids. However, food companies have changed the way they administer food. I do not want anybody touching their food. If through the course of time that changes, then that's going to be what we do. We'll add back the food company. But for right now, we're not doing the food company because that's another person touching the food. So in terms of our touchless society, we have to make sure we have to minimize all the touching going on. That's going to also change in school. So at least the Dream Center kids will be ready to be reintroduced to the way school is going to be going forward by participating in summer camp. Also, they will eat wherever their classroom is. We have divided the church up in stations. Those stations is going to be where they do everything with the exception of outdoor play. They're going to be with one person the entire time. So when they eat their food, they're going to be in their classroom. They're not going to go to the fellowship hall and the dining area like we used to in their turns. We're going to eat wherever we are. So to that, I'm going to go next to personalization. Personalization means this is the most expensive camp we have ever had because everybody has to have their own stuff, okay? Their personalization includes all of their own paper, all of their own pencils. They will not have a big crayon bucket in the middle of the table to share crayons. We have had to order individual desks, individual chairs, all wipeable so that they are completely personalized. They will have their own cubby. They're like in times past, if they come in time, they're going to have their own backpacks. The first thing we had to do in getting prepared is make sure we had all the lesson plans and knew all the materials needed in every lesson plan, and everything is that they need will be in their personal cubby. They will have everything, every highlighter, every ruler, every piece of supplies will be in their personal cubby, which they will have. Which next brings us to sanitation. Now, this has been a variation between people of who can wear the mask, who can't wear the mask, what is up with the mask, the gloves, the sanitizer, the washing of the hands, all of that. We actually have lessons about hand washing, and they have to pass these tests in order to make sure they can maintain themselves in the camp. One of the things they have to get used to, if they haven't already, please be sure that they're wearing their mask, they understand what's going on, so that when we're introduced to each other and reintroduced to each other in camp, that they're not confused about why they need to wear their mask. Of course, we're going to go over it again, but that is going to be a part of editing the behavior policy. We're going to give everybody some time and some room. I can't stand wearing the mask either, but we have to. That is a part of what the new normal will be. Wearing the mask. We're going to take mask breaks. We introduce those into the schedule, and you'll see the schedule when we're complete with it. But this has been a complete overhaul for us. It's going to be for them, but we're looking forward to getting them used to how things will be. This sanitation package does cost. I'm going to add the, well, if you have my number already, you already can Cash App it, but it is $30 for the summer. That will include their own personal stuff that they have at school. We can't, well, at church, we can't run the risk of you not having it, they forgot it, I don't have this and I don't have that. We have a package. It has to be purchased. So you get to pay $30 for the entire summer. With the exception of if we can get the show done, you won't have to pay. It is still free. It is hard to be free, though, these days. It is a little different. I can't say whether we can guarantee anything free completely going forward, because this is, like I said, very expensive. We usually have a wonderful time shopping for all of the stuff, but some of the stuff is not even available. So we are really having a challenge getting everything ready for them, but we are ready for week 1. Weeks 2 through 7 will come, but it is a challenge getting everything ready. But this sanitation package is $30, and we're going to, let me just add that. Please mute yourselves as you enter the meeting. So the sanitation package is $30. It is required per child because they have to have their own things. The hours of operation, they will be in care from full care from 9 to 3, but there's going to be a staggered time to drop off and a staggered time to pick up. Everybody cannot be picked up and dropped off at the same time. As we work through the schedule and as you register, you'll get your staggered registration time so that you can understand when you're to drop your student off or babies off and when you're to pick them up. Now, the teaching team, like I said, is the same, but we have 2 people per small class. One second. We have 2 people per small class, and that is to allow for everybody to get a break. And let me just break this down for you from the teaching and the team perspective. According to the CDC, the child has to remain with their teacher or with their counselor, that same group, from the time they get there to the time they leave. So unlike before, when they could go to Miss Green, go to Mr. Dennis, go to Mr. Malik for music, go to Miss Princess for twirling, it doesn't go that way. So we have to everybody has to teach everything. So if they're assigned to this particular age group with Mr. Dennis, they have to stay with Mr. Dennis all day. Mr. Dennis has to do academics. Mr. Dennis has to do his physical fitness. Mr. Dennis has to do arts and crafts. Mr. Dennis has to do everything with them from the beginning to the end. Now we have professional help. Mr. Dennis, as an example, is going to share his physical fitness lesson plans with all the rest of the instructors and counselors, and each of them will have an assistant. But this makes for a very challenging day because the kids used to get a particular break a certain way, and so did the instructors, and we all need it. So we will continue to keep you posted about how this works. But that's kind of like, those are the big changes. And if you have questions, of course, in the end, you'll be able to ask questions. Make sure you put your questions in the chat box. If I'm saying something and it's ringing a bell or it's jarring something that you want to talk about, we'll unmute everybody and and I'll read the questions and I can ask the questions. And then you can raise your hand to be acknowledged. Next, we're going to go through, and remember, we have parent sessions in the summer. You have to see me at least 6 times. So the first time is going to be tonight. We're going to get that out of the way. Let me just take a pause and talk about this pandemic just a second. In this thing that has happened to us, that the Lord has allowed, we have to be grateful that we're even alive. And I'm going to stop sharing the screen so that you could see my face, because I got to preach a little bit, okay? We have to be thankful that we've made it, through this portion. So many of us have gone to glory. There's been over 100,000 people that have died. So this is a very serious thing. So it's not only very serious to us from a health perspective, but it's very serious to us. Some of us don't work anymore. Some of us have lost money, and it's very hard to work. And I'm for the working people. It's very hard to work if you don't have care. But we have to be very careful about this care, which is why I'm very serious about opening up, but we're going to open up in a serious way. I don't like the friends of mine that have had to lose money and not be able to make their bills and worried. We don't want that, okay? So financially, it has been a big disruption to some of us. For those of us that haven't had the financial disruption, I want to just tell God thank you. But it is difficult in the situation that we're in. So one of the things that's going to shift in our parent meetings is that we're going to be speaking about things that really matter, that you think matter, that I also think matter. Financially, I believe everybody needs to be strong. That's what we're teaching the children. Get your education, grow up, be able to take care of yourselves. That's a part of what our out of school time and after care activities will do. But we want to make sure the parents are okay too. So this first session is going to be tonight, so we can knock this out of the way. And those of you who are logged in will get credit for tonight. We're going to listen to a very good, long-standing personal friend of mine who is a financial expert. And we're going to talk a little bit. She's going to talk for a few minutes. This qualifies for one of your sessions about being financially secure. It's not going to be a long session, and she is going to leave her number in the chat for you to contact her in the future. But with that being said, I'm going to end our parent orientation for what we need to know for summer camp, and the parent session number 1 will begin with Miss Inga Joseph. I'm going to turn it over to Inga now, and Inga, I'm going to I'll guide for you. You can share your screen. If it doesn't, I'll make you the host. But you can begin, and everybody's going to listen to Miss Inga, and then we'll go in for our while she's speaking. I'm going to take a look at the chat room to see if there's any questions that I need to answer, and then we're going to give her our attention, okay? All right, thank you.
Thank you. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Thumbs up, everybody.
Good evening, everyone. I want to thank Pastor Jackson for allowing me to come on and speak with everyone this evening. This is like a true honor. I've known Pastor Jackson for like over 25 years
Yes.
now. It's been a long time. So this is an honor to come on and, just speak with you all and educate. I love educating my people about financial literacy. That's like a big part for me right now. And it needs to become big in our lives now because, like, as Tanya said, we've had not just a pandemic, but if you think about things like last year when the government shut down and people were furloughed during then. So we need to think about making sure we're safe and have those means prepared for times like that. So what I do is I teach people how money works, and through that I provide basic concepts such as, like financial education with savings and